message on social media. 2003 were the California wildfires, and my church, and I was a pastor in Lake Arrowhead at the time, and 80,000 people were evacuated from Big Bear to my city, which was called Crestline, and everybody was off the hill. Because I carry a fire chaplain's badge, I got to be up on the hill the next day, and well, I ran a couple of roadblocks too, but that was no problem. And once I got up there, though, it was smooth sailing, and so we were communicating via cell phone and calling down to some of our key people who made this elaborate phone kind of system via cell and text that we could stay in touch with one another. Well, one of the first things I did, I went back to the church, I grabbed the church computer, put it in the car, and I drove it down. On there was a database of everybody in the church. So we started emailing, and at that time, there really was no Facebook presence or anything like that in 2003. It just goes to show how fast things are developing. But through those emails, even in our evacuation, we were still having attendances at church in rented facilities in the middle of the afternoon, in the middle of nowhere, of around 600 people. And we were the only church that was like connected in this way, that had really databased its people and were able to stay in touch. As a result, the CHP, we were having one of these meetings, they come in, here's 3 officers come in, and I figure, oh man, those tickets finally caught up with me, you know. And they said, no, we see how active you guys are. We'd like you to be the first people to go back on the mountain. And we're going to give you a pass. And so everybody in the church got a pass that day. I went up and we opened up our church as a relief center. FEMA came, San Bernardino County came, American Red Cross came. Everybody was in our parking lot. Then Cox News came, and they said, we lost our cable, it burned down, but we know that you have a cable feed here. Can we tap into you? We'll open everything up, and so that you can broadcast throughout the mountain, you know, what was going on. So basically, we inherited this TV station, and we just started broadcasting news. Well, as all of these things came together, we were able to deliver about $250,000 of relief in real money and supplies, and we were feeding probably 700 or 800 firemen every day. We were responsible for getting firewood back out into the community, opening up homes, the electrical, you know, utilities people were there writing vouchers so that people could, you know, get running again. It was an amazing experience. With all of that being said, I learned something, and it was have a good database, protect it, and staying in touch is very, very important. But when Facebook and all of these things started coming online, I missed it, and I did not put it together in my own mind, the value of it. But I kept hearing about it, and the reason that I called Alex was referred to me by a couple of guys at Saddleback, and Alex gave me lessons on a weekly basis in social media. He helped me get my first page up, he helped me get a Twitter account, and he helped me get what's called a Posterous account. And from Posterous, he says, with one click, it'll go to both Twitter and your Facebook page. It'll be easy, and he helped me get that going. The only reason that I did it is because what I had come to believe, and I think it is true, if you don't have a Facebook page, young people say you don't know what you're talking about. It's like if you can't text, you know, which is another thing of my generation, no one texts. They say, well, that you just aren't communicating. So I wanted to stay relevant, and so that's how we got started. On March 11th, when the earthquake hit, I was in New Zealand. I heard about it immediately because I was online during the time of day that it was taking place. America was sleeping. but I was in New Zealand. I immediately got on the Facebook page, my Facebook page, and I put up a notice to all of my Japanese friends. I started getting on Facebook these live responses of what they were experiencing, what was going on. And from that point on, we set up Skype communication, and we were talking every day. I would put together reports, and those reports would go to our pastor, Pastor Rick Warren, and ultimately the head of our department said, Dave, because you're on top of this thing, he sat me down one morning, he says, we would like to give you the responsibility of coordinating the relief effort and the work effort in Japan. I had successfully put together a network of about 700 churches. That's about 10% of all the churches in Japan. I've been working on it for 3 years, and now I understand more because of this, want to come into it. So it's a large network. So about 30 minutes after I have this conversation, I think, oh great, now what am I going to do? I get a phone call. It's from a guy who says, hey, you know what, I'm looking at your Facebook page, and it looks like you've got a couple of dozen posts that are very personal about Japan. He says, I remember what you did in the California wildfire. I'd like to put you in touch with somebody, and they've been reading your site too, and they would like to give you a call. Would that be okay? I said, sure. 10 minutes later, I get a phone call from a group in Buena Park. Their specialty is relief and disaster work. They were big in Katrina, they were big in the tsunami, they worked in Sri Lanka. They know what they're doing, and they said, because of what we see is happening on your Facebook page, we'd like to get behind you, and we have probably 10 or 15 shipping containers that we can send to Japan. Well, I didn't know what that was worth at the time. I figured it was worth $1 million. And I go, this is unbelievable. Because of what they had noticed on Facebook, they were willing to say, there's credibility here. They verified it with a couple of friends, and all of a sudden, we have medical supplies, we have a team of 8 to 10 doctors volunteering to go, we have a group of psychologists, trauma care, but it all came from circling around what was going on in Facebook, Twitter, and this blog called Posterous. Now, fast forward to today. So I've been there twice since then, and I'll leave again on a week from today. I leave for 8 days, and we'll be going into that area called Sendai, which is the hardest hit area. It's the place that you see on the news that's just been messed up. And we will be blogging, taking pictures, sending captions, and regular updates. And I would like to say that probably because of the social network, not me, but the network of team members that are praying for and supporting this Japan relief, we probably had the most successful Japan night that we've ever had in the history of Saddleback Church. Over 700 people were there, because all of these pictures, all of these firsthand accounts, it became very, very personal, and people showed up to say, what can we do to help? Now, if I could have any answer from social media experts, this is what I'm looking for today. I notice quite rapidly interest in this disaster is falling off. And what my bent of my nature right now is to say, and my friends in Japan are helping me, we need personal stories that tell about real people with pictures that will help unite hearts, because the generalized statistics aren't going to do it, but it's huge. 300 billion in current wreckage, another 300 billion to rebuild. We think of Japan as being technologically savvy, educated, first world, and so I think that our generalized impression is, well, they'll handle it. But I've just got to say, from what I've seen with my own eyes, it would be very, very difficult for anybody to overcome this without help. And so how can I engage people in a way that will avoid them from being fatigued or bombarded or bored, I mean, frankly, with all of this, and that they see it in a very, very real way. I think this is possible on social media because it's a very, very personal way of communicating. And I'm just discovering that. Like I said, I'm only in it for 6 months. But the personalness of it, the what you feel from other people that are your friends, but you don't know them all that well, you get their personality. You get who they are. You understand their values. And I want to learn to communicate that and link that better. So, just to end the story, is that I now come to understand that the giving that we've received from this shipping company is probably well over $2 million worth of stuff. We've already taken a first load in via airplane. We're loading containers and getting ready to load containers now to leave. Stuff is in Torrance right now, and it's about a 3-week journey. I don't know exactly when that will be leaving, but we're in the thick of it, and I believe it's all as a result of social media and that connectedness where people know each other, and it's a friend of a friend of a friend, and they are thinking what you're thinking, and they say, I'd like to come behind you and help in this time of need. So that's the power of it, and even a relatively ignorant newcomer benefited. And so what you people are doing and what we are learning to do here is very, very important. And I think it's a way, it's kind of, I look at it as the tribal drum, because your friends really are a part of your tribe. People are close to you and your friends because you're united somehow. There's some things that you all share in common on your friends list. There's a lot of differences, but there's something that draws you together. So the social media pages, it becomes this tribal drum. It's a drum beat. Everybody comes together, and I've watched a whole community unite around this Japanese relief idea just because it was posted. So that's about 10 minutes, and that's what I was supposed to be here for. So that's it, and that's my story. Yeah. Yes. Good question. Our posts come under what's called peaceinjapan.com. Saddleback is linked to it, and we're linked to the disaster contributions page. But peaceinjapan.com goes to our blog. And then for me, and I'd love to be friends with anybody in this room, it's just all one word, Pastor Dave Holden. And that's Facebook. That's my Facebook name.
You blog too, don't you?
Just through Postras.
Okay.
And so, and basically I'm learning, so I'm becoming more sophisticated. But right now, all I do is I send a picture and I write a pretty good caption. I leave it at that. And that's about what people are interested in. I'm finding psychologically through my weird way of testing these things.
How important is to know the other culture in a disaster situation? For example, Haiti. How important is it to know the culture when you're offering help? Is it appropriate to just tweet something out?
Yeah, this is really interesting with Japan. We've run into a couple of obstacles already. The first obstacle is there is no warehousing or warehouse space in Japan. Everything from factory to sales floor takes place without any warehousing. It's called, we have a name for it here, we call it JIT, or just in time. And so without any warehousing, and people, even the Japanese people, their homes contain very small refrigerators and this and that. Everything's fresh, everything's at the last minute. So when we're talking about relief efforts, if you're saying bring in cargo ships and this and that, you can't do it. Second thing is that they're actually asking us, and this is frustrating to people who want to volunteer, they're actually asking us, slow down, don't come now. Because if you don't speak Japanese or read Japanese, it takes 3 Japanese to entertain one foreigner in time of relief.
Or host.
Or host is another word of saying it. But basically you're translating, you're helping people get places, and you need a cultural liaison. It's a very difficult experience.
Yeah.
So without knowing those things, you can go there and you're really taking energy and resources when you think you're doing very, very well. And with warehousing, this was very interesting. Last week, Walmart sent 300,000 blankets, and I think that's a beautiful thing. They got to the port, and the authorities, the governmental authorities, met them and said, well, we can deliver 50,000, so take the other 250,000 back. Now, it's an interesting worldview, but we need to respect that because it's their place, it's their house. Good question.
I'm thinking the beauty of social media here is that we can get to know the other culture. You know, is that we can actually connect with one person that lives there, and then maybe we start becoming aware of how do we offer help,
Right.
what kind of help.
Mm-hmm. And so, as a result of,
I mean, you're in
Yeah.
was it 260 days of the year you're
Yeah.
traveling, so you're very cultural savvy. But some of us who don't travel to other countries often, I think we can get to learn through social media.
yeah, absolutely.
So we can just do some more Q&A if you want, and if you guys want to share whatever you want to do. There's